Hi, my name is Alan Quayle, and I'm going to be presenting on open source telecom software is the keystone of our industry. By that, of course, I mean enterprise communications. And this is a presentation I'm giving as part of the virtual event UCSummit 2020. So thanks to Rob Scott for the invitation to present. So we're going to be talking about open source, which, let's take the web as an example. 82% of web application servers out there are open source based. The web really has been built on open source. So let's understand the role open source plays in enterprise comms. Now, it's fair to say, given all the noise and jabber in our industry, it's a bit like asking, where's Waldo or where's Wally, depending on where you are in the world, in terms of where is open source in the enterprise comms industry. And that's why I'm here to help you understand just how prevalent and important it is. And the reason why we don't understand the importance is partially because of the noise that's out there in our industry. The marketing jabber is dominated by a few companies, and most of it, to be honest with you, is utter bollocks. Let's go through that. Well, cloud, look, we need to get to a post-cloud world. It's hybrid. You may need on-prem for a whole range of regulatory compliance, or you need stuff to be in a particular data center. That's okay. I think we just need to understand that cloud is not the default answer. We have, of course, in our industry, lots of fashionable theories. Remember when having your own enterprise social network was fashionable? Yeah. Then we have dumb-ass terms like digital transformation. Digital was cool in the 1970s. Today, 50 years later, it's not. And transformation, well, the phrase itself just means trying to catch up, let's face it. We have false wars. It's Slack versus Microsoft Teams, and it's not. It's both, because they meet the needs of different groups within an enterprise, and you have services like Neo that enable them to interoperate. I'll skip over RCS. That's just a bit of a nightmare. Dumb terms like API economy. An API is a HTTP request. There is not a HTTP request economy. There is a services economy. A service can be exposed through an API, an SDK, a whole range of different ways. Just picking on API as a sort of godsend or a category in itself, an industry in itself, is damn well silly. We also have in our industry what are termed Bay Area BS artists. They come in, they tell you they're from the Bay Area, and they know everything about a current fashionable technology. Now, we did have, this is an old one, but we did have stock market math, like Mitel and Avaya somehow magically equaled 5, but that never came to pass. 5G, well, 4G is good enough, let's be honest. We have lots of bias quadrants out there. Let me just move there you go, you can see it better. And the challenge is that they're dominated by, to be honest with you, large enterprise needs. US companies, not basically companies in Asia, companies in Europe. So a lot of those quadrants aren't really relevant to most enterprises that are out there. There's all the silly play-to-play awards. When you see some award from some event organizer, just look the other way. Also, now you have this sort of, you must do unified communication and contact center as a service and communication platform as a service. No, you don't. You can just do one. You can do two. It's not all of them is necessarily the best solution. It depends on the customer's need. Artificial intelligence doesn't exist, okay? The generic term is machine learning. Actually, David Curran at TAD Summit I'll give you a link at the end of the presentation. Gives an excellent presentation on what really is possible there today. Always with new technologies, start with such ridiculously inflated expectations. Take bots, for example. They are starting to have an impact today. And actually, we're going to be exploring that at TADHack Mini Orlando, just before Enterprise Connect. Again, I'll mention that towards the end of the presentation. And also, digital, as I said, cool in the 1970s is now appended to bloody everything to try and make it sound cool. It doesn't. So all that noise means we have a bit of an unlevel playing field. Bit is an understatement, using sort of the British style of understatement. But that's why I'm here, to try and help you understand the key role, the keystone role that open source plays. Now, who am I? Just so you understand my background, engineer by training, started my career off in BT, back in the days when telcos used to dual cool stuff rather than overpay for websites and then sell them off on the cheap. Headed over to Lucent to help with international business development. Then I was the managing partner for the telco practice at Cambridge Technology Partners. They are fixed time, fixed price Unix projects, great fun. founded a company called Teltia. We were just ridiculously early to market with a telecom API. But as always, you learn a lot. Then been working independently since actually 2003, helping small, large companies all around new business, new services. And I also run a number of events. So we have here TADHack, that's the largest global telecom focused on programmable communications, and also UCSummit. We have a no BS policy for a conference. I know, shock horror, but you get a lot of really frank, interesting, insightful discussions and presentations because of that. So in summary, I'm an independent chartered engineer who wanders the world helping people build new businesses and also pointing out all the BS that exists in the telecoms comms industry. Now, what do I mean by, sort of our industry? Well, let me give you a map so it sort of helps you better understand. So this is the programmable telecoms comms landscape. Underlying everything is open source, but also communication enabling software platforms. On that is built public CPaaS. There's also private CPaaS. Again, TADSummit America's had a great presentation from Quayle on that. There's in-app communications, business messaging, all the automation technologies to help you operate your business faster. And then really the comms piece breaks into two pieces: employee communications and customer communications. And we mustn't forget, because it's a big chunk of the revenue in the industry, is the whole channel to market as well. So hopefully that gives you a sort of better overview of all the piece parts that I'm talking about. I'm just going to focus on two of them. So of course, as you would imagine, the underlying piece, which is the enabling platforms, and of course open source. And then I'm just going to pick on the employee communications, and in particular the sort of the phone systems, UC, business telephony piece, just to show and quantify the impact that open source is having. So here's a logo screen for the open source projects. I show some of them here. Of course, Asterix, OpenSits, Kamailio, FreeSwitch, RESTCOM, WebRTC. Many of these can be used together. You can use Asterix with OpenSips or Kamailio to be able to do pretty cool stuff at scale. There are also, of course, CPaaS enabling platforms on top here. So these are companies that have built their own enablers, some on open source projects. So like 2600 Hertz uses Kazoo. They've built up a CPaaS enabler. They also have, they just recently announced a contact center enabler. I have a slide here. I'm not going to present it. It just lists out all those different projects, and it's not all of them. And this is just some of them, and provides you with an easy to understand definition. So jumping to employee communications. This breaks down into two segments. You've got the UC piece, that's the voice piece, and the messaging and the collaboration piece. I'm just going to focus more on this side. And in the middle here are companies that do both. What I did is a bottom-up build on market sizing. So looked at all these companies, looked at what the revenues were, the projected growths, sort of broken down. As you can see, I sort of, it's important that we use these words, phone systems, business telephony, because guess what? Most enterprise customers are using those terms. When you say UC, you get them confused quite often. So doing this bottom-up build, I have here a UC market size. Now, of course, when you look at the top line, which is the total, immediately you go, well, Alan, that's wrong. You're showing here, by 2021, maybe 15, it should be 33. Well, yes, I'm only showing the companies that are offering the technology direct. I haven't included all the channel in there, of which telco is a big piece of that channel. And they also have like mobile PBX. So they have some hidden away services in there. And what's really interesting in this overall market is telcos have been clear for them. Telephony is commoditized. It's not really a segment that they're that interested in chasing anymore. So part of the reason why we've seen such amazing growth in enterprise comms, you see, CPaaS, etc., it's just telcos walking away from a lot of the old enterprise services. Now let's look at these two lines here. So the yellow one and the gray one. The yellow is small. So it's smaller companies in this space, under 100 million. So that's not really small, but it's a line I drew. And then you got the large companies, 100 million plus. Now, when we look at the smaller companies, very interesting. 80% of them are open source software based. So this is, and they're relatively young, only 6.5 years old. So this whole segment has been created by companies building, innovating on top of open source projects. And this is just in enterprise comms. This is just business phone systems. I've not included CPaaS or contact center. And bear in mind, a lot of these large players are also running on open source as well. But again, just to provide you some quantification on just the innovation and value creation that's happening thanks to the open source projects. Now, last year, I ran a survey across all the different projects, asking people what do you use and getting their feedback on the different projects. At the end, I'll give you a link for the full results of the project survey. Sorry, I'll just give you a few highlights. So, which open source projects do you use? Well, of course, Asterisk got 71 responses, FreeSwitch, Kama-Elio, OpenSIPs, Rescom, MobiSense. So they're the main telecom app servers. But you saw there's a lot more projects. So when we look into the management interfaces, the solution wraps, the monitoring and capturing, lots more projects out there. Of course, FreePBX for Asterisk. You've got Kazoo, which I mentioned. You've got VC Dial for Asterisk. VC Dial enables you to build a contact center on top of Asterisk. And you've got projects like Wazoo that package together a whole range of different open source projects to do a lot of different enterprise communications products and services. And if we just dip into Asterisk, it gets used across a whole range of different projects. Now, it is used for contact center. When you ask engineers a specific question, you get a specific answer. So I said, are you building CSAS on Asterisk? And well, you saw there were 7 responses to using VC Dial. So if you're using VC Dial, you're building a contact center on Asterisk. It's just they're not building a cloud-based, they're building on-prem. So my learning, next time, ask more general questions, not specific questions. Never assume. But also what's really interesting is you can see the scale that it's used, millions of sessions. So this is really interesting to see what, people say, well, that's just an enterprise PBX. No, when you use it with Kama-Elio or OpenSIPs, you can use it at vast scale. So very interesting results presented there. So all those open source projects, not just one, it's not just about using sort of Asterisk or just using WebRTC, it's using those projects together with a lot of management solution wrap to make it as easy as possible, enables you to stand on the shoulders of giants. Now, I always thought this was a quote from Sir Isaac Newton. It was up at my university. It's had it there above one of the doorways. But actually, I learned it's actually from Bernard from Chartres, from the 12th century. Of course, the giants are all the open source projects that are out there. It's not just onesies, twosies. You've got a vast community of exceptionally smart people that are building platforms that remove a whole range of operational and technology issues away so that we can focus on delivering the best solutions possible, the best experience possible to our customers. So hopefully that's given you a feel for actually the very broad role open source plays across the enterprise communications industry, the new value that's being created. I provide here just some links. So you've got a link to my weblog where I summarize the project survey in more details. Here's the link to Tadsamba Namir. There you'll find David Curran's presentation on the reality of machine learning. Tadsamba Americas, again, some excellent presentations. There, one in particular from Caliero that helps you understand a bit better the private CPaaS, what they deliver. And then coming up in at the start of February, we have TADHack Mini Phoenix. That's just before Enterprise Engage. And then we have TADHack Mini Orlando, and that is just before Enterprise Connect at the end of March. Now, if you're in the enterprise comms industry, you don't have to be a developer to turn up to these events. We have mixed teams, mixed abilities, so you can turn up and you will really gain a lot of first-hand experience on using these platforms and seeing what these technologies cannot do as well. So it's great fun, and it's also networking with highly motivated, interesting people. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. Bye-bye.